This is the book of Romans, chapter 13 and verse 11. And it reads, it says, "In that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than we believed." Revelation 11 and verse 14, it says, "The second woe was past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly."
All right, guys, I have some terrifying breaking news here for you. Trump just tweeted the following. Iran should have signed the deal I told them to sign. What a shame and waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. Everyone should Tehran is the capital city of Iran. There's over 10 million people that live there. And here he said casually, by the way, it's 2 a.m. in Tehran right now. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. He said everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. What the fuck are you threatening? What are you threatening? It's so crazy that the first thing that popped into my mind, and the first thing that probably popped into your mind when you read this, is he talking about nuking Tehran? Like, is he going to green light a nuclear attack on Tehran? Like, we actually have to have that conversation now because of what he said here. Michael Tracy called this perhaps the most reckless statement ever made by a U.S. president in history. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? And by the way, when he says Iran can't have a nuclear weapon, well, congratulations, bitch. They don't have a nuclear weapon. They weren't trying to get a nuclear weapon. They were following the peace agreement, the nuclear peace agreement that we made with them that was put into place by Obama. They were following it perfectly, and you ripped it up in 2018. You destroyed that. And by the way, once you pull out of the deal, then you're in no position to turn around and start lecturing them about their fucking nuclear program. If you wanted them to not create a nuke, well, you should have stayed in the deal that was working, which was preventing them from getting a nuke. So they had every right to enrich to whatever point they wanted to once you pulled out of the deal, once you violated the deal. But by the way, they were not doing that. So this is so beyond reckless. This is, I mean, look, I don't know what's going to happen, but just the fact that the first thing that pops to mind for everybody is like, wait a second, is he talking about fucking nuking Tehran? Is that what he's talking about? And if it's not nuking Tehran, what is it? Is it some sort of like massive attack in the heart of Tehran, which could kill like tens of thousands of people? Like, I am fucking flabbergasted, man. Every time you think it can't get worse, it gets worse. And by the way, all of the fucking idiots on the right, all the MAGA idiots who are pretending like, oh yeah, I'm against war with Iran, but Trump was duped into this, and it's the people around him who are forcing him to do it, and he actually in his heart is really for peace. Does that sound like this motherfucker's for peace? Does that sound like he's for peace? Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. And by the way, the deal that he was saying they need to sign is a deal that would have prevented them from enriching uranium, even for just power for their power grid and for scientific research. As Crystal pointed out, that's what's called a poison pill in the deal, giving them terms you know they could never agree to. Because why? Because Netanyahu has always wanted this war, and Donald Trump was more than willing to assist him and greenlight it and let it happen.
All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. I'm back with another quick lesson through the Holy Spirit of Rakah Kodash. This article is from abcnews.com. The headline it reads, it says, Trump says it's possible U.S. gets involved in Israel-Iran conflict. The least of the flock shall draw them out. This is the book of Isaiah 34 and verse 16. Seek ye out of the book of the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and read. No one of these shall fail. All of these end time prophecies are coming together beautifully. You see? None of these prophecies will fail. No one of these shall fail, none shall want her mate. For my mouth it hath commanded, in his spirit it hath gathered them. See? Trump says it's possible U.S. gets involved in Israel-Iran conflict. No U.S. involvement at this point, says Trump, who's open to Putin as mediator. Okay? Let's read a little bit of this article here. And another point that you got to factor in as well is that we're very close to the MOTB. Okay? Before nuclear Armageddon takes off, they have to establish that chip. So you got to factor that in. You have to factor that in as well, dealing with the end time prophecies too, right? It says President Donald Trump said Sunday the United States is not involved in Israel's military strikes against Iran, which we all know that's bullshit. But it's possible we can get involved. See? That comes after reports that Israel had urged the U.S. to join the conflict with Iran to eliminate its nuclear program. It says in an interview with ABC News, Rachel Scott, Trump declined to comment on whether Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu made a personal plea for the U.S. to get more involved. We're not involved in it. It's possible we can get involved, but we are not at this moment involved, the president said. So like I said, that's all bullshit because it's all being revealed that in some form or fashion, you know, these small hats were green-lighted by America to bring these attacks, right? Let's play that real quick too.
U.S. President Donald Trump has denied any American involvement in Israel's attacks on Iran, but Tehran's foreign minister says he has evidence the U.S. was involved.
In our opinion, the Israeli regime's aggression against Iran could never have happened without the agreement and support of the United States. We have solid evidence that shows the support of American forces and bases in the region for attacks by the Zionist regime's military forces.
Let's bring in Rosalind Jordan in Washington, D.C. for more on this. We know what the U.S. is saying publicly, Ros, but privately, what do we know about their current involvement in Israel's operations against Iran?
Well, it has been reported that U.S. forces did help operate Patriot and THAAD anti-missile defense systems to protect Israeli territory from incoming Iranian missiles. But the U.S. is insisting that it is not involved in Iran and Israel's current conflict. That said, the Trump administration, including the president himself, Donald Trump, has admitted that they were very much aware that these strikes on Iranian military sites were going to be taking place. The president said that he had a conversation with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu last Monday, and then he also did note on his social media platform, once those strikes began early on Friday, that the Iranians had 60 days to try to come to some sort of deal about their nuclear program with the United States, and that the day of the strikes happened to be day 61. So there was awareness on the Trump administration's part.
See, so these devils is always fucking lying, man. The U.S. was most certainly involved, okay, in the attack of Iran, right? Let me get that. Okay, these devils are constantly being exposed. Habakkuk 2:5, it says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home. All right? Who enlargeth his desire as hell, and as death cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people, right? So, as it says, neither keepeth at home, all right? Let's grab that. Neither keepeth at home. Right, let's go to the lexicon. Okay? It says, he is a proud man and does not rest, but seeks disturbances and wars. All right? This is the characteristic of the biblical Edomite. Okay? So they have the evidence that America was involved, all right, in basically in green lighting the strike against Iran by them small hats. Man. So back in the read here. Let's jump down. It says Trump also shared that he had a lengthy call with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Saturday to discuss in large part the conflict in the Middle East, right? Which Trump said. Remember, he said that the prophets, there's prophets that say that there should be the end of the world should take place in the Middle East, right? Let's pull that up from that Joe Rogan podcast, right? This is 7 months ago.
I think I had a great relationship with the military, basically, but I didn't like certain people. I would have gotten them out if I thought if the election was different, I would have fired all of them quickly. Most of them I did fire. Biden should have fired every military person involved with Afghanistan. He should have had a lot of firings. If you look at him, he told Israel not to do anything, and at least Israel's not going to look at a bomb the way they would have been. Think if they listened to Biden. They'd be waiting for a bomb to drop on their head right now. He's been wrong about so much. I guess you'd have to say that she's been wrong too, because she always said they made the decision together. But Israel didn't follow his advice, and I think it was a very the Middle East is rapidly changing. There are prophets that say the world will come to an end in the Middle East. You know that, right? And we have weapons today that are so scary. When you look, I rebuilt them all. And when you look at the weapons we have today, the biggest threat we have in the world today is nuclear weapons. And we have other weapons too that are devastating. But the nuclear weapons, the biggest threat we have in the world today, and that's what I was talking about de-escalation with both China and Russia. I'm telling you, we were going to de-escalate. They were going to de-escalate. You got to be careful. It's a little tricky playing with them.
Yeah, so as we all know, that it's all going to go down in the so-called Middle East, right? So who can resist the will of the Lord, all right? Again, this is Job 15. In verse 6, it says, thy own mouth condemneth thee, and not I. Yea, thy own lips testify against thee, right? So essentially, it's the Lord that put the spirit on Trump to say that, okay? That some prophets say that the end of the world is going to come in the Middle East because, hey, we know that these devils trump everybody, all right? Your politicians, all right? Your banking elite, okay? Everybody that's in high positions of power, we all know that they're watching these videos. They're watching the prophets, all right? Fulfilling Isaiah 13, okay? That the word has gone up to the gates of the nobles, all right? So his own tongue testifies against them, all right? And like I said, who can resist the will of the Lord, all right? Romans 9:19, he says, thou wilt say then unto me, why doeth he yet find fault? For who have resisted his will? Who can resist the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, man? Okay? It's the Lord's will that nuclear war, Armageddon, will play out on this earth on this side. This is how Esau's world is going to end. Okay? 2 Ezra 6 and 9. Okay? Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, man. So there's no stopping this. Right? Who can turn back the plagues? 2 Ezra 16 and 1, it says, woe be unto thee, Babylon and Asia. Woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria. All right? Because, hey, all of these nations are going to be involved in this final war. So destruction is coming upon all these nations, man. Gird up yourselves with cloths of sack and hair. Bewail your children and be sorry, for your destruction is at hand. See? Man. A sword is sent upon you, who may turn it back? A fire is sent among you, who may quench it? Plagues are sent unto you, and what is he that may drive them away? May any man drive away a hungry lion in the wood? Or may anyone quench the fire in the stubble when they have begun to burn? May one turn again the arrow that is shot of a strong archer? The mighty Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushua sendeth the plagues. And who is he that can drive them away? Exactly. Nobody. It says, a fire shall go forth from his wrath, and who is he that may quench it? He shall cast lightnings, and who shall not fear? He shall thunder, and who shall not be afraid? The Lord shall the Lord shall threaten, and who shall not be utterly beaten to powder at his presence? All right. The slain of the Lord shall be many. Okay, it says, the earth quaketh in the foundations thereof, the sea ariseth with the waves from the deep, and the waves of it are troubled, and the fishes thereof also before the Lord Yahweh Shem Yahushai, and before the glory of his power. For strong is his right hand that bendeth the bow. His arrows that he shooteth are sharp, and shall not miss when they begin to be shot into the ends of the world. And that's going to those ICBM nuclear missiles, which is going to bring an end to Esau's world. Behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. The fire is kindled and shall not be put out till it consume the foundation of the earth. Like as an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer returneth not backward. Even so the plagues that shall be sent upon the earth shall not return again. So again, who can resist the will of the Lord, man? Okay? Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars. And the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Right? Isaiah 55:8 says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right? See, the Lord's thoughts are his thoughts, man. This is his will. This is his movie. Okay? Everything's moving according to the script, to his plans. Okay? For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts, right? So, you can't disannul the will of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Okay? This is the Lord's spirit that's upon these men, these kings of this earth. All right, to fulfill his will. Proverbs 21:1, the king's heart is in the hand of the Lord. Yahweh Shem Yahushai, as the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will, right? As I always bring that out. Okay, the Lord is in control of both sides. Isaiah 45:7, I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, do all these things. Okay, so this thing is going down whether you believe it or not. And see, like I said, the beauty behind all of this is that, you damn, scoffers and mockers and demons that don't believe, really, especially right now, your incredulity is insignificant, man, at this point. It really doesn't matter what you people say or what you believe. Okay, the will of the Lord is going to be done on earth. Okay, it's all getting ready to go down. All right. So this is what's going to take off in the Middle East, right? Let's get that too. And before we go back to the read here, Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 8, it says, therefore wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour upon them mine indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. All right, nuclear war. Okay, and also when the chariots appear, right? Joel 3:1, for behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, right? This is the time of our salvation. This is why we read Romans 13:11 at the beginning. For now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for our salvation is nearer than we believe. Okay? Verse 2, it says, I will also gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Yehoshaphat. Okay, this is the region where all the nation's armies are going to be gathered, are going to be gathered to be destroyed in nuclear war. All right, in the valley of Yehoshaphat. And I will plead with them there for my people, and for my heritage Israel, all right? The true biblical Israelites, okay? Whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land, all right? So here we're coming into that time of recompense, okay? Of true justice, right? Let's read a little bit more. So again, it says Trump also shared that he had a lengthy call with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Saturday to discuss in large part the conflict in the Middle East. The president told ABC News he would be, quote, open to Putin's idea to serve as a mediator between Iran and Israel. Quote, I would be open to it. Putin is ready. He called me out about it. We had a long talk about it. We talked about this more than his situation. This is something I believe is going to get resolved, Trump stated, right? So this is all smoke and mirrors, man. As we all know, there is no peace and safety. There is no mediation. Okay, there is no peace agreement, no deals that's about to be signed. That's all bullshit to keep these people in America in a false sense of comfort. Okay, America, Babylon the Great is going to war. All right. It says the president's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, was set to travel to Oman on Sunday for another round of nuclear talks with Iranian officials. But following Israel's strikes, Iran called off the meeting. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi called the nuclear negotiations unjustifiable after the attacks, which he said were carried out with the support of the U.S. Okay? It says the president, who stated he gave Iran, quote, 60-day ultimatum to, quote, make a deal, told ABC News he's not setting a new deadline. No, there is no deadline, but they are talking. They like to make a deal. They're talking. They continue to talk, the president said, referring to Iran, man. So nobody's buying this shit, man. Okay? We all know, according to prophecy, where it's heading, and there's no stopping it. Right? This is from America's First Report. It says 3 potential trigger events which could cause the U.S. to get directly involved in attacking Iran. All right? Let's just go down the bottom here. Right? So it says what are some potential trigger events that could cause the U.S. to get directly involved in attacking Iran? It says, first of all, the U.S. bases in the region getting attacked, the U.S. would most definitely respond, right? Because if they attack those bases out there in the so-called Middle East, that's where it's all going to go. That's where it's going to pop off. Okay? That's what's going to start this thing. It says, and the Iranians have specifically warned the U.S. that such attacks may be coming if they don't stop intercepting Iranian missiles, right? Which is from this site here. Let's pull this one up. Right? So this is from firstpost.com. It says Iran warns of strikes on U.S., UK, French bases. Why that would be dangerous, right? So it says Iran has warned it will target U.S., British, and French military bases in the region if they insist Israel in defending against Tehran's attacks. With thousands of Western troops stationed across the region, and Iran's missile and drone capabilities expanding, this confrontation could trigger a far larger conflict, which we all know, right? Let's jump down. It says, Iran has formally cautioned the United States, United Kingdom, and France if they interfere with the retaliatory missile and drone strikes against Israel, their forces stationed in the region will be considered legitimate targets. This announcement was transmitted through state-controlled Iranian media on Saturday and follows intensified hostilities between Israel and Iran following attacks linked to Iran's nuclear dispute with Israel. It says, Western countries are now caught in a precarious position. U.S. President Donald Trump has pledged support for Israel's defense, and American defense officials have acknowledged the role of U.S. forces in countering airborne threats directed toward Israeli territory. It says, let's jump down here. It says the risk for Iran executing its threat lies in the possibility of drawing Western militaries directly into the conflict at a time when Israeli airstrikes have already imposed substantial pressure on Iranian aligned infrastructure. All right. So again, the least of the flock is being drawn out. Okay. The possibility of drawing Western militaries directly into the conflict. Right. Jeremiah 15:45. Therefore hear ye the counsel of the Lord, Yahweh Shemel Shai, that he have taken against Babylon and his purposes, that he proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely shall he make their habitation desolate with them. All right. So prophecy is popping, man. See that? Man. And that's it, man. So, all right, everybody, the whole world is watching this thing. All right. It's getting ready to go down. One step closer to nuclear war.
And the next phase is going to be the U.S. even more directly involved. We're already involved. We're already arming it. We're already funding it. We're already helping with some of the defenses on the ground, the air defenses. But it's only going to escalate further now. But again, what a chilling fucking statement that is. I mean, this is disturbing. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. Jesus. I mean, I don't have anything insightful to say here other than holy shit. This is a really disturbing, really chilling moment. Because like either that's a threat of a nuke or some massive attack, but even if nothing happens, it's still like terrorizing a city of over 10. Could you imagine a scenario where Iran said, the leader of Iran, the Grand Ayatollah said, evacuate New York City immediately, or evacuate Washington, D.C. immediately? What would our reaction be in that scenario, right? Oh my God, man. Oh, not even a half year into Trump's second term, not even a half year into this regime. And we already have, I mean, shit, I've aged probably 7 years in this 5-6 months. So I don't know how the fuck we get through this, bro. This is just, I mean, what the fuck do you say? Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. I mean, shame on everybody who hasn't fucking jumped off this bandwagon yet. This is a straight up fascist, terrorist ass regime. And there's no plausible deniability left. I mean, that is so wildly disturbing and reckless.
What is your video?
There you go. 1 Peter 4:7. And it reads, it says, but the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. Shalom.